What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome back to another episode of the Stray Buffalo. I am your host, Ray DeLucci. Let's get into this. So, a really cool episode for Hard Knocks to go over. James Cook back at practice, which is huge, and an update on some comments from McDermott regarding Cole Bishop. All that and more in this episode, so let's go. Let's start with Hard Knocks episode 2. So, really enjoyed episode 1. Thought they had a really good insight into training camp, into the Bills organization, into what the Bills are all about. Episode 2 starts with the McDermott speech, and he's preaching consistency. And if you've known McDermott, if you've followed the Bills at all, you know that Sean McDermott always wants his players to be consistent. His focus all the time is how players are consistent, how they show up game in and game out. And it's the idea that practice is the work that you put in every day, and that when you go on the field on Sunday, all that work that you put in has led up to this game. It leads up to a moment where you're not really like trying to figure yourself out. You've done it so many times that you're just relying on instinct, your talent, and your ability to go make that play. And that's why I see Sean McDermott as a great leader. This episode highlighted a couple of key people, and the one was Joe Andreessen. So, second year guy, linebacker, Buffalo native, nicknamed Buffalo Joe. One of the cooler stories on the Buffalo Bills. You know, the local kid isn't drafted, isn't really seen by any teams, comes to a tryout, gets a contract, and now he's playing first string in preseason games. What a cool story to be told. In the practice footage from Hard Knocks, he looked really good. Looks dynamic. Looks a lot faster than last year. Stronger. Seems to have more knowledge of the defense and making plays. So to see him get a roster spot was really cool. And I thought it was interesting how Hard Knocks kind of covered this idea. You know, he had the photo with his family looking to go see Takeo Spikes and get his autograph. And just that whole story was played out really well. One thing that I really noticed, though, was he had a tackle on Ty Johnson, and it hurt Ty Johnson. He got shaken up, and Ty was going out of bounds, and Joe hit him. You know, kind of got excited in the moment. And you see Ryan Vandermark basically sticking up for Ty Johnson, and that's the type of the type of energy we need to bring this year. We're all sticking up for each other. We're all there for each other. And I know Dion brings a lot of that, but to see that spread throughout the team, that energy, that brotherhood, that fellowship is really important, in my opinion. And so I thought, obviously Joe made a mistake. He got too hot. He obviously did hurt Ty. And I thought it was, a warranted reaction. And it just showed the heart and the care that the offensive line has right now for their teammates. The way they brought him the hold in with James Cook was nuts. They just ended up saying something like, Brandon Beane's been GM for 9 years and he's dealing with his first hold in. And when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to this now. And the reason I said that is because I was really wondering if they were going to cover it. And I think they really painted both the Bills and Cook in a good light. And I wonder how much of this was like the Bills wanted to be painted in a good light and James wants to be painted in a good light, or if it really is the nature of this contract negotiation, because it has gotten ugly. James has missed practice. He sat out the preseason game. He did warm ups, but he didn't get dressed. So this hasn't been all roses. It hasn't been something that's been really great to see for the team, obviously. But the way they brought it up was really interesting. Cook presents like a pro. They show this with him being in team meetings, and I think this is a key important piece of information. When people hear that James Cook is sitting out, he's sitting out practice. The difference between a hold in and a hold out is James is still attending meetings. So hold in means you're still attending many of the functions of your role, whereas a holdout means you just simply wouldn't be in the building. So James is attending team meetings, running back meetings. There's footage of him sitting there with Ray Davis, looking at offensive schemes, looking at plays. His coach even says in there, you got to stay engaged. You got to stay focused. Make sure you learn the plays. And I think that's really, an important thing. And you see James putting in that effort, even though obviously he doesn't practice. Bean had a great quote. He said, "I love James so much." And then he goes on to say, "It feels like your sons are your younger brothers." And it could be corporate talk. It could just be like that, oh, we're all a family thing when you go into work. But no, I think Bean really does care. I know he sees the value in James Cook. I know the Bills see that value. There are reports that they could get to a deal, but at the same time, James Cook wasn't practicing. We will get to that update later. But for me, the way they presented this in Hard Knocks shows that something is going to get done. Either James is going to get his contract or he's going to settle for a little bit less, but something will happen between James Cook and the Buffalo Bills. I think they presented this in a way that leaves that door open. I think they presented it in a way that keeps the focus on both sides of the both parties trying to come to an agreement. And so I am not too worried about James Cook, especially with news that came out today. Things can change, obviously, but the way they left it in Hard Knocks gave me hope. And then Josh had really great comments on it. Not quoting him verbatim, but his ideas and sentiments that you got to do what you got to do. He's like not there to. He said he was like an advocate for players getting paid, and he does bring up a good point. And this is in James Cook's favor. Is like especially with running backs, like their window is limited. The want to pay them is low, but this is generational wealth that, if played properly, that can not only set James Cook up for the rest of his life if he plays his or manages his money right, but also his family and their families and their families after that. So obviously, a lot going on. The coach Kelly Skipper to James said, "Stay engaged and see all the plays." That being said, the other running back in the room, the fan favorite Ray Davis' story was also great. We had a great interaction between Mitch Trubisky, who I do really like, and Ray Davis. But the storyline they chose to follow this episode was this Ray Davis kicking field goals. It's kind of nuts to see. They said that like for the preseason game or the practice or the blue and red practice that they had to go to Dick's the day before to get him like steel-toed cleats or steel cleats. And yeah, I mean, just awesome to see Ray Davis's versatility. But man, who would have thought that that dude, great running back, young talent, a lot to work on, but a great talent overall. He had that amazing catch down there when Josh rolled right down the sideline last year, but also an adequate kicker while Tyler Bass is out with that groin injury, which I really hope he gets better. I mean, he real quick on Tyler Bass. Obviously, want him to heal up. He was shaky here and there. Him making that field goal in the Dolphins game last year was like, okay, Tyler Bass is back. He was steady the rest of the year. He was very reliable. I hope this injury does not hold him back because you can tell he did a lot of not only physical work, but mental work to get back to a place where he's just like a killer with the field goal game. But yeah, to have Ray Davis step in is crazy. They have some slow-mos of Josh throwing the ball, and I just put a note, watching Josh throw the football is insane. It just is insane. His technique, his ability to get at places, his arm strength, the way he focuses in, the way he is able to read defenses, remain calm, and just throw the football. It's just at another level. And the narrator was saying how it's like Eddie. They were talking about nerves. A big part of this was nerves. The rookies, new guys, and they said any defense going up against Josh Allen is going to be nervous. And of course, I agree. Then they cut to after that. Funny enough, this dynamic of Josh needing to work on his footwork, and there's a moment where he accidentally is walking backwards and steps on KJ Hamler's foot. KJ Hamler, he got some good spotlight in this episode, and I really enjoyed getting to know him from a personal level. Obviously, not personally, but like through the episode. They finally got him his grown-up scooter. Just to call back to the viral moment last week of him using that kid's scooter and not getting around. He loved that damn bell in his new scooter, and you could just tell how happy it was. The announcers in the preseason game brought it up. Teammates brought it up. Curtis Samuel was saying he was dying. So yeah, shout out to KJ Hamler for getting that grown-up bell. Really touching moment. Sean McDermott spoke about his cancer diagnosis and treatment. And for fans that don't know, he is a big advocate against prepping against skin cancer. One of his coaches had passed away from it, and he also obviously had his own experience. So he, helps out a lot with that. You'll always see him with long sleeve shirts. They go through his wardrobe with this gamma. I believe it was gamma blocking sunscreen. Where's the hat? Where's the long sleeve? So if you didn't know why McDermott dresses the way he does, it really is for skin cancer prevention. So obviously, everyone put on your sunscreen. Something I'm diligent about. Wasn't always diligent about it. Am now. Especially not having hair, it doesn't help. That's the word, my biggest fear. But yeah, be diligent. Put it on your sunscreen and go to the dermatologist and get yourself checked because you never know, and it's good to get those screenings done. telling you to go to the dermatologist in a Bills podcast, but hey, McDermott brought it up, and I wanted to echo the sentiment. It was cool to see Sean calling Marv Levy on his 100th birthday. Actually, really, really cool stuff. And I'm just impressed with how quickly Hard Knocks is able to do this. You know, they had footage from the game on Saturday. We're here Tuesday night. The episode is up. They had Josh on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. He had his awesome quote where they were asking him about drinking. He goes, "I didn't drink for the first 11 years." And they were like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I turned 12. It was awesome. It was just like, it's so Josh. And if you watch that interview, you could tell they're both trying so hard to catch each other in jokes. Really cool dynamic on that podcast. And Bean had a lot of interesting info on that podcast as well. If I get time this week, I'd like to do a breakdown of the Bustin' with the Boys podcast regarding Bean and Josh's interviews. But for now, we'll stick to Hard Knocks. The quarterback battle, this is something I'm interested in, and Hard Knocks was able to make it really dynamic. You know, Mitch Trubisky versus Mike White, Shane Bouchele in there as well. All seem like great guys. For myself, living in Illinois, having lived in Chicago and the suburbs of Chicago, I'm rooting for Mitch. The fan base here loved him when he was here. Obviously, didn't end great. But he's obviously a talented dude. Between him and Mike, 15 NFL seasons is nuts. And he's got all the experience I think you'd need in a backup. Mike White obviously is very talented. He had like that run with the Jets. And it'll be interesting to see who gets QB2. My money is going to be on Mitch. But again, we'll see what happens. Terry Bagula had a touching moment. They focus a lot on DeMar's story, the cardiac arrest on the field. DeMar working to bring focus to cardiac arrest. He did share he's working on a book, which, I would love to purchase and read when he puts it out. DeMar's story, they show this clip of him in his like bunk in dorm room. Beautiful tattoo. You can tell like what the Bills Mafia means to him. The healthcare provider on the back that helped him. Pray for DeMar, like a Bills player running with that flag. Just a really touching story. It's easy to forget like how impactful that moment was when DeMar was on the field. And I will never forget that moment. And it's kind of sad that like a lot of people on the internet have turned that into something that it's not, or made fun of, have made it what it isn't, like with conspiracy theories and all this other weird stuff. But at the end of the day, DeMar's a warrior. I have nothing but respect for him. The fact that he went out there and just kept going is like, it just shows it's a testament to his bravery and what he is made of. I will say it's like the sad reality of the NFL is that no matter your story, your talent on the field is what's most important. And he may be safety number one. He may not be. We'll see. But there is this idea that it is a great story, but he's still, I don't know. He had some issues last season play wise. We'll see how he does this year, and we'll see if he's starter. So Terry Bagula had a very touching story as well about the unfortunate heart attack that Kim Pagula suffered. Really terrible stuff. He did mention that his daughter saved her life by doing CPR, but they had passed an AED machine, I believe they said 3 times. So not only knowing how to use it, but being aware of it. Really touching story. And I think it takes a lot to kind of share that. Like, yeah, we did, we saved Kim's life, but that AED was right there. So just being aware of that as well, I think is super important. Obviously would suggest anyone get CPR training. It's not that long, and it's a crucial piece of information to have, life-saving pieces of information to have. They could then go over to Pagula's what they call a shindig, a party, with Vince Carter and all the new Bills ownership or part owners. But then they transition from that to Joe Andreessen's family partying in Lancaster, and you can just see how much his family loves him, how much they're invested in his career, obviously the support structure he has, and how the community is rallied around him. Buffalo Joe, I hope you do well this year, and I hope you're helping us hoist the Lombardi in Highmark Stadium before the end of the year. They then go into the preseason game against the Giants, and there's just some crazy Bills Mafia takes. They show some brutal table drops, some crazy table drops. Fans going through tables. Bills Mafia obviously is insane. Something they're known for. They had a lady they found where she had shared that her husband had drank her breast milk at a tailgate. That was interesting. They had a quick shot of Pinto Ron. Shout out Pinto Ron. And then the one guy in Buffalo whose neighbor put up a Jets flag. So he went and decided to paint his entire house the Bills colors with the Bills logo on the front. That's how crazy we are. You put up a Jets flag, a rival in Buffalo, New York, we're gonna paint our house Bills colors with the Bills logo. Like that's Bills Mafia. Crazy stuff. And then they had this like whole montage of the failures of the Super Bowl losses and stop showing us those damn failures. We're gonna make up for it this year. And I say we, I mean obviously the Buffalo Bills. People get mad when I say we. Like I know I'm not on the Bills. I'm part of the fan base. I love this team so much. Very aware that I'm not on the Bills, but we're all part of the Bills Mafia. So that's important. So for all the haters, sorry, I do say we. Good looking defense in the preseason. Good looking defense, first stringers. You know, Joe Andreessen had some good stuff. He did have the interception where he should have caught it. I liked how they panned up to Bean, and he was like disappointed that Joe hadn't caught that, and that would have been a great play. And it's like those are the moments where you really have to make those plays. You have to capture the interception. That's what's going to extend you beyond others. Ray Davis was in there to make a field goal kick. That was really awesome. And then a great throw from Mitch Trubisky to Tyrell Shavers. Really, really awesome throw and catch. Shavers is a stud. I think he's underrated. You know, he's been a fan favorite. And it's great. It'll be interesting to see if he makes like any games this year. I really hope he does. Mike White in the offense get off to a bumpy start, but then he gets to pick it up, and you know, just an awesome throw to KJ Hamler, a dude with speed. He's had some injuries. Looks like he's doing well. Looks like he's physically doing good. He's got his head in the right spot. And then they show a little bit of Frank Gore Jr., which you don't get to see a lot of him. He had some great runs, and he was just that close to a touchdown. So a lot to be seen from the preseason in the next few games. They are planning to come to Chicago, and very excited to be watching it. And yeah, that was pretty much Hard Knocks episode 2. I actually enjoyed this one more. I feel like the first episode set the stage, and I loved that and was like great exposure. But this kind of showed the ins and outs of the Bills training camp going to a preseason game. And I think what I really appreciated out of this episode is like, you know, as fans, like preseason is exciting because football's back, but it's also preseason. And it showed that like, while we may, you know, see it as a lesser moment for the Bills, the intensity, the focus, how McDermott has to figure out where people are going to fit, how he has to figure out where to put people on the roster and use their strengths and weaknesses. Like that was really cool to see. So I wanted to shout out Hard Knocks episode 2. For that alone, I think it was an awesome showcasing of the preseason and why it matters and what the Bills organization is doing during it. I think there was a lot less spotlight on Josh, but from what there was, it was like cool to see his perspective. But this idea of the quarterback battles, of the James Cook Holden, Buffalo Joe, it was a great episode. I'm very excited to see next week's as we get into the preseason even further. But really enjoyed this episode. All right, let's go into some stories real quick before we wrap this up. So McDermott says getting short on time for Bills safety Cole Bishop. So and this is a article by Buffalo Rumblings. It says once again, Bishop's biggest foe is the grasp Buffalo's sideline has on him. And I quote, before the Buffalo Bills took the practice field on Tuesday, head coach Sean McDermott fielded questions about the team in preparation for their Week 2 preseason game against the Chicago Bears. McDermott always begins scheduled media sessions by providing an injury update, often leading to key follow-up questions. Tuesday's update and comments by McDermott proved to be a little more interesting than typical. Second-year safety Cole Bishop, who's currently dealing with a quadriceps injury, returned to practice on a limited basis. It's good news considering he's missed a significant chunk of time on the practice field this spring and summer. He missed all of Buffalo's mandatory minicamp and half of the on-field training camp sessions at St. John Fisher. He was durable in Utah, but injuries and Bishop have gone hand in hand since the Bills selected him last year in round 2. You know, they had this quote from McDermott where he says, to be a good defense, you've got to have that component of good safety play and not anything against the guys who've been out there. You know, I think they've been playing well, quite honestly. DeMar and the other guys that have been back there. And let's not forget DeMar, you know, played quite extensively last year for us. So we have a lot of confidence in him. That said, you know, when we're just focusing in on Taylor and Cole, you know that continuity together is important. Cole's been out there, T-Rap's been out there quite a bit. Just over the last week, he hasn't or so. But Cole's the one who's missed quite a bit of time. Again, just like last year. So it remains to be seen what he's truly able to do and do for us. You know, that's a big position for us, right? So, like I mentioned numerous times over, the continuity between the two of them and pairing up, kind of like the Batman and Robin piece, it's just experiencing things together. How did you see it? How did I see it? Being in the film room together, that it's huge, and we're getting short on time. Uh, Really interesting comments from McDermott. Interested to see. Obviously, I think Cole Bishop is talented. He's got to stay healthy, and it's unfortunate. And this seems to be a not a Buffalo specific thing, but a theme recently is we have these talented players. It's hard for them to stay healthy, and I'm not sure what the issue is, but injuries seem to be continuing to pile up for the Bills. And if they aren't piling up where they're out a lot, they're piling up in ways where we can't really even tell who we have in key positions. So I really hope that Cole Bishop's injuries woes do not continue, and I just hope that he's able to get back out there. I mean, the guy's a second round draft pick. He's got all the talent in the world, and I just really really hope uh, he's able to keep the ball rolling. So. Uh, let's go on to the next story. Big news today. Big news today coming out of the Buffalo Bills organization, and that is the fact that James Cook has returned to practice. So this happened today on Tuesday, August 12th. And this is an article from ESPN where James Cook, it's labeled James Cook returns to Bills practice amid contract dispute. Author Elena Gutzenberg. And she writes, James Cook returned to practice Tuesday amid his contract dispute with the Buffalo Bills, appearing to at least pause the star running back's holding. Cook was in full uniform and fully participated throughout the session. He did not participate in the last 4 days of practice that took place over the last week and missed Buffalo's first preseason game. He did, however, warm up with the team before the preseason game. Bills coach Sean McDermott said he expected Cook to return to practice earlier Tuesday, adding that things have changed. Quote, we've had conversations with James. Good conversations, as I've mentioned before, and the information that we're getting is that he is moving in the direction of practicing today. McDermott did decline to answer whether Cook's holding is officially over, and then Cook also declined to speak to reporters today. He last spoke with a group of media on August 3rd, saying he didn't participate in practice because of business. That's been the last we've heard. Bills quarterback Josh Allen said after today's practice, as players, we have to separate sometimes the business and the sport. I know both sides thought that what they're doing is the right thing. Obviously, we're very happy to have Cook out there today, and I trust in Brandon Beane and what he's going to get done. And we're just very happy that he's out there with us right now. Being said on WGR 550 last week, he goes, at the end of the day, I wish we weren't here. This is my 9th season here. We've never had a player miss due to a contract or anything like that. So that's disappointing for me. It's not something we want. And it was really, really good info to have. ESPN also noted that 3 Bills got extensions this offseason. Benford, Bernard, and Shakir, in addition to Rousseau, was another one. But the one note that they do put is that Cook was only on the field last year for just over 45% of offensive plays, with Ty Johnson coming in on late downs and Ray Davis getting some opportunities. So, what does all this mean? It means that James Cook is back. He is back for now. We don't know if he's going to continue the hold in. We can never know what the contract information is right now, what they're disputing, what they're coming up with, how they're organizing and kind of pursuing all this different contract negotiations. But what we do know is that this is a step in the right direction. And to be honest, this is a step I did not see coming if you would have asked me even this weekend. To see James Cook back at practice shows me that he is bought in some way. He does believe in the Bills. And it shows me that conversations are good enough to where he's willing to go practice. Because when you think about it, him being willing to practice shows that he's willing to take the risk to practice, thinking that that he's making some leeway with the Bills, in my opinion. Why would you hold in if you wanted to resolve a contract? And it's the reason you would do that is obviously A, to make a statement, but B, to avoid injury. So him going out there, in my opinion, shows that the Bills are in a more favorable light in his mind when it comes to contract negotiations. It's just going to be interesting to see what that next evolution of the James Cook saga is when we talk about how he's doing, what he's looking for, and how the Bills accommodate him. So that being said, I'm very interested to see if he has any, if at all, any participation in the Bills preseason game against the Bears. And once again, just hope he is able to come back. But again, I really don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see that moving forward. Some quick news. This is from the Buffalo News. Sean McDermott doesn't rule out an IR stint, injury reserve stint for Bills rookie corner Maxwell Hairston. They're sharing the Bills rookie cornerback no longer needs crutches while he continues his recovery from an LCL sprain, not a tear, a sprain. That delayed his debut. It's an important step for the first round draft pick. He's attended team and position meetings since he suffered the injury. He's now able to join the Bills for walkthroughs as they prepare for their second preseason game against Chicago. Progress doesn't mean Hairston is guaranteed to avoid a stint on injured reserve at the start of his rookie season. McDermott told reporters before practice Tuesday that based on Hairston's projected timeline to return, the team may have to consider an IR designation for the cornerback. If Hairston lands on IR, he'd have to miss at least a minimum of 4 games. It would not be ideal, but it would allow the Bills to keep an extra corner on the 53-man roster until Hairston is ready to play in a game. I get it. We all want to see Hairston out there. You know, we want to see him play. I think putting him on IR is a smart move. Don't rush him back. Don't get him into everything. Just, let him heal. Let him get ready. And let him just get his act together for the football field. Let him get his rehab back and come back 100%. And maybe he's only really needed to be out 2 games, but you never know what could happen. And we don't want to get burned early at the cornerback position, a position we've struggled at maintaining well, especially with Trey's injury history. Let him heal, is my opinion. Put him on IR, and let's see him after the 4 games that he has to miss. Last big story is that this is by Mike Petro, is that Pepsi becomes another founding partner at Buffalo Bills' new stadium. So if you're interested in all the new stadium talk, this is a cool update. Another longtime partner of the Buffalo Bills will be coming with the team to its new stadium. PepsiCo Beverages has extended its nearly 3-decade-long partnership with the Bills as the team prepares to move into the new Highmark Stadium. A partner of the Bills since 1998, 1 year after I was born, Pepsi will remain the official soft drink of the team and become a founding partner of the over $2 billion stadium. The brand will now also team with local restaurants to showcase its items and continue a relationship with Bills star quarterback Josh Allen. Pepsi joins M&T, Verizon, and Ticketmaster as founding partners of the team at New Highmark Stadium, where the Bills are looking for ways to generate revenue and capitalize on the momentum it brings. Melissa Duheim, the director of PepsiCo Sports and Entertainment, says the Bills have a rich history and one of the most passionate, energetic fan bases in the league. We're proud to extend our long-standing relationship with the team and be part of this exciting chapter. There you have it. Hard Knocks episode 2. Great stuff. We got 3 more episodes to go. James Cook back to practice. Big news. Positive news. Some needed news. And we'll see what happens with Cole Bishop. Hairston, hoping he gets a good recovery. And then PepsiCo joining in on the new stadium. I'm just ready for football to start. I am just ready for the season to go. I can't, watching the preseason game today and hearing McDermott talk to the players. I'm just that's not happening. Not unless you're through the mic, because of how loud it is going to be this year. Last stadium, Josh Allen premieres, so much to be excited about. Hard Knocks to get us ready to go. I'm planning on going to the Eagles game in December. Really hope to go to that. Can't wait. But yeah, what a season. Let's go. It's time. Let's get this football season going. I am so ready for September to be here so we can get to some Buffalo Bills football and I can be stressed, anxious, happy, and all of the above, all the things that Bills football brings me. So that is it. If you're listening on YouTube, please hit subscribe and like this video. And if you're wanting to see more content, I do a lot of TikTok and TikTok content. Not all of it makes it on to this page. So if you go to the at the Stray Buffalo on TikTok, you can find me there. But really, just subscribing, liking, sharing with a fellow Bills Mafia member really helps me grow the page, helps me get more content out, and just gives me feedback. I would love to cover the Bustin' with the Boys interview, even if it's like a 15-minute segment. I think a lot of great stuff there from Bean and Josh, and any other Bills news. So I hope to do that closer to the end of the week. But thank you all for listening, and as always, go Bills.